The cinnamon stick hissing in the pot wasn't the only thing boiling, so was the silence I had carried for years. Vanessa swept into my kitchen like she owned the place, heels clicking on the oak floor, phone lifted for her followers. She grinned wide, fake as tinsel. Big news, we're hosting 30 for Christmas. My whole family Texas, Jersey, the Carolinas. It's going to be iconic. I set the knife down. 30. I rinsed my hands slowly. Perfect. I'll be in New Orleans that week. You all can handle it. Her smile froze. The phone lowered, for the first time. She looked uncertain. I'm sorry. What? As in beignets, brass bands, and me far away. I said. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. Upstairs, the dryer buzzed. Oh, on the stove, cinnamon sticks hissed in boiling water. Christmas smells. But none of it felt like Christmas. Vanessa blinked, then tried again with her sweet voice. Michael's not going to be okay with this. He's counting on you. Michael is 35. He can count again, I replied. She laughed thin. Brittle. You're being dramatic. I looked her in the eye. You invited 30 people to a house that isn't yours for a holiday that isn't a brand without asking the woman who pays the bills. That's not dramatic. That's reckless. Her phone chimed. She palmed the screen too quickly. The name vanished, but not from my mind. The front door opened. Michael walked in, soft-eyed, tired, still carrying the boy I raised. He kissed her temple, kissed my cheek. What's going on? Your mom says she's abandoning Christmas, Vanessa said smoothly. She's leaving us. Mom, Michael frowned. I booked New Orleans this morning. I said, a week, maybe longer if the jazz is good. This isn't like you. He said, no, I admitted, it isn't. And that's the point. Vanessa gasped a laugh. If you go, I'll have to cancel. People already bought tickets. People should have been asked first. That's free, I said. Michael rubbed his temples. Can't we compromise? Maybe you plan the menu. We'll handle the rest. I thought of years of bending, of swallowing my words to keep peace. No, I've compromised so much. I don't know my own size anymore. Vanessa tried pity next. Clara, are you okay? You've been forgetful lately. Maybe it's age. My voice cut cold. Careful. Choose your next sentence with both hands. She swallowed hard. The storm outside hadn't arrived yet, but the air already pressed heavy. You're serious, Michael whispered. Dead serious, I said. I pulled off my apron, folded it, laid it on the counter like a flag I no longer served. Here are the spare keys. A list of vendors who won't pick up this close to Christmas. And advice: buy paper plates. Easier to throw away when the party collapses. Vanessa's phone chimed again. She glanced down fast, almost panicked. My gut tightened. Not now, I told myself. But soon, at the door, suitcase in hand. I paused. My son stared at me like he didn't recognize me. My daughter-in-law stared like she'd seen a ghost. 30 guests, perfect. I'm traveling. You'll cook and clean. I'm not the maid. I let the words sit in the room like smoke. Then I added, for Vanessa's camera still recording in the corner, if your daughter-in-law dropped 30 relatives on your doorstep for Christmas, would you host or would you pack a bag? Drop your answer in the comments. Her jaw dropped. I stepped outside. Cold December air bit my cheeks. Across the street, Mrs. Turner's porch light flicked on, like she knew I'd need a witness. My phone buzzed an unknown number from New Jersey. I ignored it. Behind me, I heard Vanessa's voice break into panic, Michael trying to calm her, both of them realizing for the first time in years I wasn't bending. I closed the door with a click, not a slam. And as I walked down the path with my small blue suitcase, I felt something unravel the tight thread of silence I had carried for too long. Not a punishment, not a tantrum, just truth, finally spoken. But tell me this, what happens when a Christmas built on lies meets a woman who finally refuses to play along? That's where our story begins. Atlanta in December can't decide what it wants to be. Some mornings, the air cuts sharp like January. By noon, you're sweating in a coat you shouldn't have worn. That morning, stepping off my porch with a suitcase rolling behind me. I breathed in the city's confusion and thought so much like my family. My name is Clara Whitfield, 62, widow of a man who used to fix cars by day and sing in the choir by night. We raised one son, Michael, in this very house. Every inch of it carries his fingerprints, the crayon marks on the baseboards, the pantry door notch marking his height. This house isn't just wood and nails, it's me. My years of work as a school teacher, every paycheck folded into a mortgage, every holiday saved by casseroles I stretched past reason. My husband passed a decade ago, but his laughter still lingers in the corners. And now my son's wife parades through these rooms as if they were a stage set. Michael, 35, quiet brilliance, works in tech. He's the boy who once begged me to teach him long division at midnight because he didn't want numbers to beat him. Now he spends 12-hour days in meetings I barely understand. Eyes tired but loyal to a fault. Vanessa, 32, camera perfect, always performing. Her Instagram shows sparkling dinners, curated family moments, and captions about gratitude. Behind closed doors, she barks orders like a CEO with no stock. She calls me Mama C online to her followers. But here in my kitchen, I'm staff. For 5 years, I told myself endure it, that keeping quiet kept Michael happy, that one day Vanessa would soften, but lies don't soften, they calcify. The neighborhood has watched it all. Mrs. Turner, across the street, retired lawyer, white hair sharp as her wit. She sees me on her porch sometimes, eyes full of the things she wants to say but doesn't. I suspect she knows more than she lets on. Then there's Angela, my church friend. She sells real estate, hears whispers. Twice now, she's hinted Vanessa's been asking about property transfers in my name. I laughed it off, but the words have sat heavy in my chest ever since. It isn't just about Christmas. It never was. 2 weeks before, I'd walked into the kitchen late at night for water. Vanessa was on the phone, voice hushed but sharp. Don't worry. Once the house is secured, everything else falls in line. When she saw me, she smiled sweet as pie. Just business stuff, Mama C. But whose business and at whose expense I started noticing more packages arriving under different names. Michael's credit card bills climbing. Vanessa's phone lighting up with numbers she always turned face down. Small cracks in a glass house she thought was invisible. Still, I stayed silent. Until the moment she announced 30 relatives were coming to my house for Christmas, like it was a hotel booked with points. That was the moment the silence snapped. Now, as I wheeled my suitcase down the sidewalk, Mrs. Turner waved from her porch. You finally leaving? Clara, she called. Just for Christmas, I said. Her eyes narrowed. Curious. Good for you. She sipped her tea, the kind of sip that said she'd be waiting for me when I came back with questions. Inside my pocket. My phone buzzed again, same New Jersey number as before. I didn't answer. Instead, I thought about the last Christmas before Vanessa. Michael and I decorated the tree together, this year. Vanessa had ordered a 12-foot artificial tree sponsored by a brand. She wanted gold ornaments for aesthetic. She planned to live stream the dinner for followers. She even mentioned hiring a photographer for Christmas Eve. She called it building a legacy. I call it selling a soul. As the taxi pulled up, I felt the first crack of freedom. The driver, a young man with gospel music low on the radio, loaded my bag. Heading far, he asked, Not far enough. I said. He laughed, not knowing how true that was. We drove past houses lit with twinkling lights, children building snowmen from the weak Georgia snow, couples stringing garlands, ordinary, messy, beautiful families. And I wondered how had mine turned into a transaction. At the red light, I saw Michael's face in my mind. My boy. Would he forgive me for walking away, or would he cling tighter to the woman turning our family into a brand? The phone buzzed again. Same number. Persistent. I silenced it, but a chill crawled up my arms. Whoever it was, they weren't giving up. I leaned back, eyes on the dark December sky. For years, I'd played the quiet mother, the accommodating mother-in-law, the invisible woman. But invisibility is a dangerous trick. People forget you're watching. People forget you see. And I have seen enough. The driver pulled onto the highway. Atlanta's skyline glittered like broken promises. My suitcase sat heavy beside me, but lighter than the weight I'd just left behind. Christmas. 30 guests, an influencer wife, a son blind to the truth. It all spun behind me like the city lights. What none of them knew, what even Michael didn't know, was that I wasn't running. I was planning. Every step, every silence, every bag I packed was part of something bigger. Because this Christmas wasn't just about food or decorations. It was about power. And for the first time in 5 years, power was moving back into my hands. Clara may have left the house, but questions remain. Who keeps calling from New Jersey? What exactly is Vanessa planning with securing the house? And how far will Clara go to reclaim her life? The hotel room smelled of lemon polish and new carpet. Too clean, too temporary. I pulled the curtains wide and let the Atlanta skyline sprawl across the glass. For the first time in years, I wasn't listening for footsteps on my stairs or a voice calling, "Mama C, can you?" But peace doesn't sit long when you know a storm is coming. I set my suitcase by the bed, phone buzzing on the nightstand. Same New Jersey number, persistent. I let it go to voicemail again, but the unease stayed. What unsettled me more was the silence from Michael. My son always called if I sneezed too loud. Now nothing. Not a single text asking if I was safe. Was he angry, or was Vanessa already spinning her story? I remembered the way she glanced at her phone that morning, hiding the screen. The flash of a name I couldn't read. The flicker of panic before she tucked it away. That wasn't the look of a woman worried about catering 30 guests. That was the look of someone caught. The next morning, I walked down to the hotel cafe for coffee. The TV above the counter played a morning show. I wasn't listening until I heard it. Real estate scams increasing nationwide. Experts warn homeowners to double-check documents before signing, especially retirees and widows targeted for their property equity. My heart dropped. Retirees, widows, me. Angela's words came back, Vanessa asking questions about property transfers. My stomach twisted. Was that what Vanessa meant by once the house is secured? Back in my room, I opened the laptop I almost didn't pack. Years of teaching had made me meticulous. I kept copies of my mortgage, my husband's will, the house deed. I typed property transfer Georgia into the search bar. What I read chilled me. Forged signatures, loans taken against houses, families blindsided. Could Vanessa? The phone buzzed again, jolting me. I finally answered, "Mrs. Whitfield," a male voice, crisp, professional. "This is David Romero from Garden State Financial, Newark, New Jersey. We've been trying to reach you regarding some documents signed in your name." My chest tightened. What documents? A home equity loan application. Substantial amount, secured against your property. The room tilted. I gripped the chair back. I didn't sign anything. He hesitated. "That's concerning, ma'am, because we have paperwork with your signature, my signature." My voice cracked. "Yes, dated last month. Perhaps you should review them. I can email you copies." I hung up, hands shaking. My mind ran back to every evening Vanessa asked me to just sign here for delivery or authorize a package. How many papers had she slid under my hand while I was distracted with dinner or laundry? The email arrived within minutes, PDF attachments. I opened them with dread. There it was, my name, my address, my signature. Close enough to fool a banker, but not me. Someone who'd studied me. Someone who lived with me. I replayed the kitchen scene, Vanessa's phone buzzing, her eyes darting, her insistence that 30 relatives were flying in. 30 guests wasn't a holiday, it was a smokescreen. If her family was in my house, filling it wall to wall. Would anyone notice a document signed? A notary visit. A paper slid into a pile of receipts. And what better cover for fraud than Christmas chaos the next day? I went to see Mrs. Turner. She opened her door in a crimson robe, hair wrapped tight, coffee steaming in her hand. You didn't make it to New Orleans after all, she said, sharp eyes scanning me. Not yet, I said. I need advice, legal advice. Her brows lifted. Sit down. I told her everything, the phone calls, the forged signature, Vanessa's sudden announcement of 30 guests. When I finished, Mrs. Turner sat back. Classic pattern. Young spouse with taste bigger than income, house-rich mother-in-law, convenient target. You think she's trying to steal my house? I whispered. Mrs. Turner didn't flinch. I think she's already started. On the way back, I called Angela. She admitted Vanessa had been asking her about expediting deeds and transfers for investment. Angela thought it was curiosity. Now, it was evidence. The pieces fit too neatly. Vanessa's Christmas surprise, her secret calls, the forged documents. It wasn't about family. It was about takeover that night. I stood at my window, watching Atlanta glow like a restless heartbeat. I thought of my husband, how proud he'd been when we paid off the mortgage. I thought of Michael, how quickly love can blind a man. And I thought of Vanessa smiling for her camera, calling me Mama C while plotting to erase me from the very home I built. The phone buzzed again. Michael, finally. Mom. His voice tired, strained. Vanessa says you're making up stories. She says you're paranoid. Please, tell me none of this is true. I closed my eyes. What exactly did she tell you that you accused her of trying to steal the house, that you said she forged your name? He paused. She's crying. Mom. She says you're confused. Confused. The word stung deeper than any insult. Michael, I said quietly. If I'm confused, then why does a bank in New Jersey have a loan with my forged signature on it? Silence, just breathing. Ragged. Send me the documents, he finally whispered. I will, I said. But understand, this isn't about confusion. It's about survival. I ended the call, staring at my reflection in the dark glass. A woman people thought they could erase, but the cracks in Vanessa's glass-perfect life were showing, and I intended to make them shatter. The email from Garden State Financial didn't leave my laptop screen all night. The digital ink of my forged signature stared back like a bruise that wouldn't fade. By dawn, I printed the documents at the hotel's business center, the machine spitting them out with clinical indifference. I held the pages, ran my finger across the crooked loop in the C. Not mine, close, but not mine. For years, I'd let Vanessa treat me like a servant in my own home. Now she was trying to erase me legally. I knew better than to walk into battle empty-handed. I called Mrs. Turner. She answered on the first ring. Clara, I need a lawyer, not a retired one, a real one. She gave me a name, Jasmine Cole, her former student, now a respected attorney downtown. By noon, I was sitting in Jasmine's sleek office, a skyline view behind her. Forgery, real estate fraud, possible identity theft, Jasmine said. Flipping through the papers. This is serious. Mrs. Whitfield, I know, I said. My voice was steady, though my hands shook. Do you have reason to believe your daughter-in-law did this? I hesitated. The word daughter-in-law still made my stomach twist. Who else lives in my house? Who else has access to my papers, my mail, my signature? Jasmine nodded. We'll start with a handwriting expert. If the signature is forged, we'll have proof. But that's just the beginning. We'll need more financial records, communications, anything tying her to this. Her words gave me direction. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't reacting. I was planning. That evening, I returned to the house, not to stay, just to look. I parked down the street, lights off, then through the window. I saw Vanessa moving from room to room, phone in hand, pacing like a woman juggling glass. Michael sat on the couch, slouched, scrolling, his shoulders tight. I didn't knock. I didn't announce myself. I just watched. Then I noticed something, a stack of mail on the counter, thick envelopes with return addresses from banks and financial companies. Vanessa snatched them up, slipped them into her tote bag before Michael could look. My stomach turned. That was my mail, my name, my life. I drove back to the hotel, heart racing. If Vanessa was hiding bank statements, there had to be more. So I started digging in the only place I still had control my own records. I pulled out the fireproof box I kept in the closet. Inside, the original deed, mortgage payoff letter, insurance policies, my husband's will, all untouched, safe. But then I noticed gaps, bills missing, envelopes tampered. Someone had been inside my records. Photocopies I never made. My chest went cold. Someone had taken them. Someone had prepared for this. The next day, Jasmine connected me with a private investigator she trusted, Marcus Green. He was quiet, methodical, the kind of man who noticed the detail in your shoelaces. "People leave trails," he said. "Your daughter-in-law might be good with smiles, but money always tells the truth." Within 48 hours, Marcus returned with results. Vanessa opened a POS box in her maiden name, he said, handing me photos, rerouted mail from financial institutions, credit applications, loan statements, everything funneled through there. My pulse hammered. So she's been using my documents to build her own empire. Yes, Marcus finished. But that's not all. She also opened a joint account with your son's name attached. He doesn't seem to know. Large withdrawals, luxury stores, hotels. The words sliced through me. I thought back to the bill I'd found weeks earlier, tucked in her magazine. A boutique hotel downtown. 2 nights. My husband had taught me to read between the lines. Luxury hotels weren't for shopping trips. That night, I called Michael. He answered, weary. "Mom, I need you to meet me tomorrow." Alone. He hesitated. Vanessa alone. Michael. My voice left no room. We met at a diner off Peachtree, one of those places that smells like bacon grease and coffee no matter the hour. Michael slid into the booth, eyes searching mine. I placed the documents between us. "Your wife forged my name. She rerouted my mail. She's draining accounts with your signature. And she's not just after me, she's dragging you down with her." He stared at the papers, face pale. "Mom, this can't be. Look at the bank statements." I pressed. "Do those look like your purchases? $5,000 at Cartier a weekend at the St. Regis. Does that sound like you?" He swallowed hard. His silence said more than words. Finally, he whispered, "If this is true, I don't know who I married." I reached across the booth, touched his hand. "Then it's time we both find out." Because I had proof now, signatures, statements, photos. The first pieces of a puzzle that would expose Vanessa's perfect picture for what it really was, a counterfeit, and Christmas, with 30 relatives under one roof, was going to be the stage. The diner lights hummed overhead as Michael rubbed his forehead. The document spread between us like evidence at a trial. "Mom, I can't..." He couldn't finish the sentence. I sipped my coffee, bitter and overbrewed. "Can't what? Can't believe your wife would use you, or can't believe you didn't see it?" He flinched like I'd slapped him. I softened my tone. "Michael, denial won't protect you. Or me. Vanessa isn't just reckless, she's deliberate. And she's accelerating." 2 days later, Marcus, the investigator, called. "Mrs. Whitfield, you need to hear this." He played a recording Vanessa at a cafe, voice low but sharp. "The Christmas party seals it. Once everyone's here. Once Michael's family sees the perfect hostess routine. I'll have the leverage. The house will be ours. Investors love a stable picture. And Clara, she won't even be around." My stomach clenched. She wasn't just after money. She was using me as collateral, my absence as a prop. Marcus's voice cut through. "She's careful, but arrogance makes people sloppy. Keep letting her talk. We'll catch more." That night, I returned home under the pretense of grabbing clothes. Vanessa greeted me at the door with sugar in her voice. "Mama C, we missed you." Behind her, the tree dripped in gold ornaments, the living room staged like a magazine spread. I walked through the living room like a stranger in my own house. The tree she ordered stood tall, dripping in gold ornaments. Pretty, cold, soulless. Big dinner tomorrow with my cousins. Vanessa chirped. You'll join us. Right, I'm busy, I said flatly. Her smile twitched. She followed me upstairs. Too close. Michael told me you've been concerned about paperwork. Maybe confused. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. You don't need to stress. Confused. The word Vanessa used like a weapon. I turned slowly, met her gaze. I'm not confused. Vanessa, I'm awake. That's scarier, isn't it? Her eyes flickered, just for a second, before the smile snapped back. Of course. Mama C. But her hand tightened on the banister until her knuckles whitened. Later that week, Angela invited me for coffee. She looked uneasy. Clara, I don't know if I should tell you this. Tell me. Vanessa asked me to appraise your house. She said you were considering putting it on the market. She wanted numbers fast. My blood ran cold. And you believed her I didn't. That's why I'm telling you. But she's clever. She knows the right language, the right pressure. I left Angela's office trembling but clearer. Vanessa wasn't waiting. She was moving now, pressing every button, using every connection. The pressure reached Michael too. One evening, he called me, voice strained. Mom, Vanessa says you're spreading lies. She says you're trying to ruin her reputation. She even told her family you're... His voice broke, showing early dementia. I closed my eyes. The cruelty was breathtaking, not just stealing from me, but erasing me, Michael. Listen, I said quietly. If I were losing my mind, would banks be calling me? Would lawyers confirm forgery? Would an investigator record your wife planning to take my house? Silence, then his voice, low, almost broken. If this is true, then I've been blind. Yes, I whispered. But you don't have to stay blind. The Christmas plans grew like a tumor. Invitations extended, flights booked, Instagram posts promising the holiday event of the year, 30 relatives, 30 witnesses to Vanessa's performance. I watched from the edges. Every day more certain this wasn't just vanity, it was strategy. She needed the show. She needed to look powerful, generous, in control so her wealthy uncle and business-minded cousins would trust her with investments. And I was supposed to be invisible. But invisibility is my weapon now. One evening, Marcus handed me a flash drive. You'll want to hear this. The audio crackled Vanessa's voice again. Laughing with someone? A man, not Michael. Don't worry, babe. Once Clara's out, it's all ours. Michael will fold like he always does. He's too soft. This house, the money, the image, will leverage everything. You and me. My throat went dry. So it wasn't just fraud. It wasn't just money. It was betrayal in every form. That night, I sat by the hotel window, documents spread around me, audio whispering from my laptop. Outside, Atlanta buzzed with Christmas lights, couples walking hand in hand, children pointing at store windows, and me, I was staring at the ruin of my family. But not defeated, I whispered to myself, the words tasting strange and strong on my tongue. This isn't an ending. This is setup, because the higher Vanessa built her glass tower, the harder it would shatter when the truth came crashing through, and I would be the one holding the hammer. The night before Christmas Eve, Marcus called. His tone was clipped. Urgent. Mrs. Whitfield. We dug deeper. You'd better sit down. I was already at the hotel desk, papers scattered like a battlefield. Tell me, Marcus exhaled. We pulled audio from her last meeting. You need to hear this. He slid a flash drive across the table. My hands trembled as I plugged it into my laptop. The file crackled alive. Vanessa's voice, unmistakable, sweetened for seduction but sharpened with greed. Once Clara's out, it's ours. Michael folds easy, he always does. You and I will flip this house, pull investors, and cash out big. Then another voice, male, smooth. Business-like, not Michael. Don't worry, babe. I'll line up the buyers. By New Year's. It'll be done. My stomach turned. Betrayal wasn't only in her marriage bed, it was in my mortgage. She wasn't sneaking off for romance, she was plotting with a loan broker, a man who preyed on distressed properties. And my house, my life's work, was his next target. Marcus's eyes were hard. That's him. Shady broker. He flips homes through forged loans and quick resales. Your house is already on his radar. I pressed a hand to my chest, steadying my breath. So she's not just cheating. She's partnering. Exactly, Marcus said. Every forged document, every P.O. box, he's behind her. But she's the one feeding him access. The room swayed. I'd suspected lies, suspected theft. But this... My son's wife wasn't building a family, she was dismantling one brick at a time, selling it off piece by piece. The next morning, Michael came to the hotel. His face was pale, his eyes hollow. He looked older than 35, as if the years of blindness had finally landed on him overnight. Mom, he said, pacing. Vanessa's family arrives tonight. She's panicking. Says you're trying to sabotage her. Says you'll embarrass her in front of everyone. I didn't answer. I just slid the laptop toward him. Listen. The audio filled the room again, Vanessa's laughter, her promises, the man's voice sealing their plan. Michael froze, color draining from his face. She called me soft. He whispered, said I'd fold. His voice cracked. And she's right. I did fold. Every time. I touched his arm. Love doesn't mean blindness, Michael. But blindness has cost us all too much. His hands shook as he shut the laptop. I'll confront her tonight. Not yet, I said sharply. If you explode now, she'll spin it. She thrives in performance. Let her stage her show tomorrow. Let her shine as the perfect hostess. We'll be ready when the lights turn. He swallowed hard, nodding slowly. What do you mean, you'll see? I said. But this time, her own words will bury her. That evening, I parked across from my house. Cars lined the curb, headlights slicing the dark. Relatives unloaded bags, coats, children racing to the porch. Inside, I saw Vanessa's sequined dress catching the light, phone raised high, narrating her perfect family Christmas for an audience that didn't know they were extras in a scam. My dining table, once sacred, groaned under catered trays. The tree blazed gold, ornaments gleaming like trophies. She was selling a fantasy, and every guest believed it. Michael hovered near the staircase, shoulders tense, smile brittle. He wasn't playing her game anymore, but he hadn't chosen a side either. He looked like a man waiting for the earth to split beneath his feet. For a moment, I pitied her. The desperation behind all that glitter, the hunger for validation. But pity was a luxury I couldn't afford. She'd tried to erase me with forged ink. Now the truth would erase her. At midnight, Michael slipped out onto the porch, calling me. His voice was raw. Mom, she showed them papers. Says you gave her power of attorney months ago. Signed and notarized. Her family believes it. The words froze me. Power of attorney. My voice cracked. I never signed that. She waved it like gospel. Michael whispered, her uncle believes every word. He thinks you handed her the house yourself. My pulse thundered. A forged power of attorney more dangerous than the loan, more damning than the affair, not just theft, a complete rewriting of reality. To them, I wasn't a victim. I was her benefactor. That was her genius. That was her crime. I steadied myself against the railing, voice low but fierce. Michael, that's the crown jewel. If they believe that, they'll invest. They'll back her with money and power. By the time the law catches up, damage will be done. He covered his face with his hands. What do we do? I looked through the window, watching Vanessa sparkle for her guests. Glass in hand, lies flowing like wine. She thought the stage was hers. But stages collapse easiest when the set is made of paper. We let her perform, I whispered. But this time, the curtain drops on her. As I drove back to the hotel, Atlanta's skyline burned against the night, jagged and restless. I thought of my husband, how proud he'd been when we'd paid the last mortgage check. I thought of Michael finally seeing the cracks in the woman he'd defended. And I thought of Vanessa seated on my couch, preaching about trust while holding forged papers. She believed she'd played her checkmate, but she had forgotten the oldest rule of survival, the one my husband had written in the margin of his Bible: patience builds the trap, truth springs it, and tomorrow night the trap would snap shut. Christmas Eve. The house glowed like a department store window porch, strung with lights, tree blazing gold, catered trays steaming, but behind the glitter, Rot waited. I stood across the street with Jasmine, my lawyer, and Marcus, the investigator. We weren't guests. We were witnesses, waiting for the right moment. Inside. Vanessa sparkled in sequins, greeting 30 relatives as though they were investors. Her uncle from Texas, cousins from Jersey, even her sister from Charlotte, every one of them drawn into her story. Michael stood near the stairs, shoulders rigid, smile brittle. He looked like a man waiting for the floor to crack. At 8 o'clock, Vanessa raised her glass. Family, thank you for coming. Tonight isn't just Christmas, it's the beginning of something bigger. A future for all of us. Applause. Phones lifted, she basked in it, then reached for a folder. Thanks to my dear mother-in-law, Clara, who entrusted me with her home. We now have the security to expand. Real estate is the future, and tonight, you can be part of it. Gasps, murmurs. She held up the forged power of attorney like scripture, smile bright as tinsel. Her uncle clapped hard, proud of you. Vanessa checks already in his pocket. That was her peak, and my cue. The front door opened. I stepped inside. Coat over my shoulders, papers in hand. Jasmine and Marcus followed, silent, steady. The room froze. Glasses stilled midair. Phones pivoted toward me. Funny, I said, voice calm but slicing. You talk of trust while holding a forgery. Vanessa's face drained, then flushed red. Clara. You weren't supposed to be here, I finished. That's always been your mistake. Vanessa. You think I'm invisible, but I've been watching, her relatives whispered. Her uncle frowned. Michael stared, torn between shame and relief. I walked to the center, held up the paper. This supposed power of attorney, it's fake. A handwriting expert confirmed it. That loop in the C isn't mine. Never was. Gasps. Her uncle leaned forward. Eyes sharp. Vanessa. Is this true? She stammered. No, this is a setup. Clara doesn't remember what she signed. Marcus pressed play. Her laughter filled the room once Clara's out. It's ours. Michael folds easy. The house. The money will flip it all. The room erupted. Relatives shifted back, as if betrayal were contagious. Vanessa shrieked. That's out of context. Jasmine stepped forward. Calm as steel. Context doesn't erase fraud, and context won't stop charges. Here she laid certified documents on the table, my real deed. Notarized statements. Marcus's photos of her P.O. box. Each page slammed her illusion shut. Michael stepped forward, voice raw. Vanessa, I defended you against my own mother, and all this time, you were planning to erase her. Silence. Vanessa trembled, mascara streaking, lips moving but no sound. Her uncle's fist hit the table. You embarrassed us, lied to us. I nearly invested thousands, her cousin spat. You owe me already. Don't think I won't collect. Her sister's voice cracked. You dragged us into fraud, Vanessa. Enough. Her supporters collapsed into accusers. The empire she staged crumbled in seconds. I stepped closer, voice low but carrying. You thought my home was your stage, but tonight, it's a courtroom, and every lie you told is evidence. She shook her head wildly. You planned this. Yes, I said quietly, patiently, while you forged papers. I prepared proof. You underestimated me because I was silent. But silence was my weapon. Michael's tears brimmed. 5 years. Vanessa, 5 years of lies. And I called my own mother dramatic. That silence was her verdict. She dropped to her knees, clinging to his sleeve. Baby, please, it's all them. They're framing me. Michael pulled away. His voice was quiet. Final. No. Vanessa, you framed yourself. The room fell into hush. No carols, no laughter, only the crackle of the fire and the collapse of her facade. But then, her uncle turned to me. Clara. She said you promised this house in your will, that she was your chosen heir. Is there truth to that? Every head turned, even Michael's. For the first time all night, I hesitated, because years ago, I had drafted a will naming both Michael and his wife, not signed, not binding, forgotten in a drawer. Yet somehow Vanessa knew. My pulse quickened. She hadn't invented that story from nothing. She'd stolen it from my past, the family murmured, restless, confusion mixing with rage. And I realized this wasn't over. Exposing her fraud was one thing, but the deepest cut had yet to land, because betrayal doesn't always come from the enemy outside. Sometimes it slips in through the crack of someone you trust. The house was silent after the storm. Relatives trickled out, muttering in anger, leaving half-empty wine glasses and untouched trays. Vanessa had locked herself in the guest bedroom, a queen without a kingdom. Michael sat by the fire, staring into the embers until they collapsed into ash, and me, I wasn't celebrating. I was calculating. Jasmine spread documents across the dining table. Clara, we already have enough forged power of attorney, handwriting analysis, the bank confirming fraud, legally. She's cornered. Marcus leaned back, voice steady. But law is slow. You want something sharper. I met his gaze. I don't just want her punished. I want her exposed. I want every person she lied to, every follower she tricked, every relative she used to see her for what she is. Because revenge, for me, wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. We began to plan. Step 1, documentation. Jasmine secured affidavits from handwriting experts, copies of every notarized record, the real deed. Marcus tracked the financial trail, rerouted mail, bank withdrawals, luxury purchases. Vanessa couldn't explain. Step 2, stage. Vanessa lived for her image. She couldn't resist an audience. So the final blow had to be public, undeniable, where she couldn't spin it. Not whispers in a back room, but truth delivered in the open. Step 3, timing. Not rushed, not sloppy. Delivered at the moment she believed herself untouchable. Michael looked up from the fire, his voice small. Mom, I don't know if I can face her again. Every word out of her mouth, it's like I'm hearing it twice. Once in her voice, once in the recordings. I touched his shoulder. You will face her, because she still thinks you're hers to control. But when you speak against her, it won't just break her, it'll free you. He shook his head. I don't know if I'm strong enough. You are. I said, you just don't know it yet. The next morning, I returned to the hotel to think in silence. I spread my husband's old Bible across the desk. Inside were his letters, ink faded but words alive. Clara, patience builds the trap. Truth springs it. I closed my eyes. Hearing his voice in memory, he would have hated the spectacle, but he would have loved the justice. Meanwhile, Marcus dug deeper. 2 days later, he brought me a folder. She's reckless. He said, the broker she's been meeting. He isn't just sending her business messages. Look, the text burned my eyes. Flirtations, photos, promises of our new place once the house is flipped. Betrayal wasn't abstract anymore. It was in writing, time-stamped, undeniable. Michael read them too. His hands shook, jaw tight. She made me feel crazy for doubting. She said I was paranoid. And all this time, his voice broke. I was blind. I squeezed his hand. Not blind anymore. Jasmine suggested we keep it private, a quiet legal process. Less messy. Judges, not relatives. Clara, less spectacle, more control. But I shook my head. No, she wins in the shadows, one-on-one. She convinces, she manipulates. The only way to stop her is to make the truth undeniable, so public it can't be rewritten. Marcus smiled faintly. Then we give her what she loves, a stage. And that's when the plan crystallized. We would invite her family back, under the guise of resolving misunderstandings. Jasmine would present the real legal documents. Marcus would play the recordings, show the texts. And Michael finally would speak, not as her shield, but as her witness. It wouldn't just be my revenge, it would be our collective reckoning. The days leading to New Year's felt strange, like the hush before a storm. Vanessa floated through the house silent, her phone clutched like a lifeline, eyes darting as if she sensed cracks widening beneath her. She was still posting glossy updates, smiles, ornaments, captions about family unity while the walls closed in. Michael avoided her. At night, I heard him on the phone with Jasmine, asking about divorce, about disentangling finances. He was finally choosing truth, but truth cost him sleep, and me, I cooked for myself again. Simple meals, quiet flavors. The kitchen smelled like freedom, not performance. For the first time in years, I felt the house breathe with me, not against me. On December 30th, I set my dining table not with Vanessa's gaudy gold, but with my own china, white plates, silver cutlery, red napkins pressed from storage. The way my husband and I once hosted Christmas. Michael ran a hand over the cloth. It feels like home again. It is, I said. And tomorrow, it becomes more than home. It becomes witness. The next day, cars began lining the street again. Vanessa's relatives filed in, uneasy, murmuring about confusion. Vanessa, dressed sharp but eyes rimmed red, forced a smile. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice rehearsed. "There's been some miscommunication." "I'll clear everything tonight." I stepped forward, Jasmine at my side, Marcus setting his recorder on the table. "No miscommunication," I said clearly, "only deception. And tonight, it ends." Vanessa blinked, smile cracking. "You're confused again. Clara, everyone knows Jasmine opened her briefcase, laying affidavits and notarized documents across the table." Marcus pressed play. Vanessa's laughter spilled out, intimate texts glowing on the screen. Michael rose, voice trembling but resolute. "She lied to me. She lied to all of you. And she will not lie again because I won't allow it." His words broke like thunder, for the first time. My son wasn't defending her. He was defending truth. Vanessa's mask shattered. Her hands shook. Her lips stammered excuses. But the room was no longer hers. It belonged to the evidence, to the witnesses, to the silence that followed every word she couldn't deny. I sat back, calm, not gloating, just steady. Because tomorrow, the law would move. But tonight, the truth had already arrived. The dining room felt like a courtroom. The chandelier's glow was harsh, every shadow sharp. Vanessa sat at the far end of the table, sequins trembling, smile plastered on with desperation. Around her, 30 relatives shifted in their chairs, eyes darting between the neat stacks of papers Jasmine laid down and the recorder Marcus set in the center. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jasmine began, her lawyer's tone crisp, "tonight isn't about confusion, it's about evidence." She lifted the forged power of attorney. "This claims Clara granted Vanessa control of her estate. Our handwriting expert has confirmed this signature is a forgery." Gasps rippled. Her uncle leaned forward, jaw clenched. "Forged Vanessa. Tell me this isn't true." Vanessa's smile faltered. No, it's a trick. Clara's confused. She doesn't know what she signed." Marcus pressed play. Vanessa's laughter filled the room, echoing from the recorder. "Once Clara's out, it's ours." Michael folds easy. "The house. The money will flip it all." Relatives recoiled. One cousin muttered a curse. Her sister's hand flew to her mouth. Vanessa shot to her feet. "That's taken out of context." Jasmine's voice cut clean. "Context doesn't explain the texts." She slid photos across the table, Vanessa's messages with the broker, plans to sell the house, promises of our new life. Her uncle slammed his fist. "You humiliated us. I nearly invested thousands," her cousin snarled. "You already owe me." "Vanessa, don't think I won't come collecting," her sister whispered, trembling. "All this time, you lied to us." The tide turned sharp. Allies became accusers, but not all. One of her younger cousins shot to his feet, face flushed. "This is ridiculous. You're framing her. Clara's just jealous, afraid of being replaced." Murmurs spread, half the room nodding, half shaking their heads. The family fractured down the middle. Vanessa clung to the opening. Yes, exactly. Clara hates me. She's been out to ruin me from day one. You all know how controlling she is. Enough. Michael's voice cracked like thunder. He rose, eyes wet but blazing. For 5 years I defended you. Against my own mother. I believed every excuse, every tear. But now I see you. All of you. Vanessa froze, lips parted. Michael turned to the room. She lied to me. She lied to you. And she will never lie again because I won't let her. The silence after his words was heavier than any accusation. I stepped forward, voice calm. This house was never just property. It was built with sweat, with teaching paychecks and long nights fixing cars. Vanessa thought she could forge history with a pen. But history doesn't bend that way. I laid my husband's old notebook on the table, open to his first line for Clara, who makes a house into a home. The room stilled. Even the ones defending Vanessa fell quiet. Then came the knock. Sharp. Measured. 2 deputies stepped inside, hats low, voices professional. Vanessa Whitfield. She went white. You called the police. Jasmine answered smoothly. No, the bank did. Once fraud was confirmed, charges followed. Tonight was a matter of timing. Vanessa backed away, wild-eyed. Michael, baby, stop them. Tell them this is a mistake. But Michael didn't move. His shoulders sagged, voice quiet. The mistake was ever believing you. She screamed once high, desperate, but the sound collapsed into silence as the deputies read her rights. Her uncle tried to push forward. Face red. You can't take her, it's family business. A cousin pulled him back. No, uncle. Family doesn't steal from family. And just like that, the last shield crumbled. Vanessa's wrists were cuffed, her sequins flashing under the porch light as she was led out. A queen stripped of her crown. The door shut. The room exhaled. Relatives rose slowly, some ashamed, some furious, some whispering prayers. They left in fragments, splintered like glass. Michael stayed, Vanessa standing by the fire, face pale. Mom, he whispered. I don't know how to fix this. I touched his shoulder gently. You don't fix it in a night. You live with truth, one day at a time. Lies weighed her down. Don't carry them for her. He nodded, tears brimming. I stood in the center of the room, looking at the gold-draped tree Vanessa had decorated. It still gleamed, but hollow now. I plucked one ornament, set it on the mantel. This house is mine again, I whispered. The fire cracked in answer, but then Michael's voice broke the silence. Mom? There's something you need to know. I turned. His face was pale, eyes heavy with guilt. That old draft of your will, the one Vanessa waved around, she didn't find it herself, I told her. Months ago, I thought it would calm her, make her feel secure. I didn't know she'd use it against you. The room tilted. My son, the boy I raised, had been the crack she slipped through. And suddenly, I realized the revenge was complete. But the story wasn't over. The house was too quiet after the deputies left. No sequins, no performance, just the creak of wood and the faint smell of smoke. I stood at the dining table, the same one where Vanessa had waved her lies like gospel. Now it was bare, stripped of plates and pretenses. Michael lingered by the window, shoulders hunched. His confession hung between us like a cracked ornament. Why? Michael, I asked softly. He swallowed. I thought, if she knew you once considered leaving her something, she'd stop feeling threatened. I just wanted peace. Peace built on lies, I said, my voice trembling. Isn't peace, it's a prison, and I lived in it for 5 years. Tears welled in his eyes. I didn't know she'd use it against you. I didn't know she'd... His voice broke. You didn't want to know, I said quietly. That's different. The words landed heavy. The next morning, Jasmine returned with updates. The bank has confirmed fraud. Charges are moving forward: identity theft, forgery, mail fraud. Vanessa won't be walking free anytime soon. I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. Legal justice was certain. Family justice, that was harder. After she left, I walked room to room, The kitchen where Vanessa barked orders, the living room where she staged photos, the guest room she claimed as her throne. Each space felt lighter now, as if the walls themselves had exhaled. In my bedroom, I opened the old box of letters, my husband's handwriting, steady as ever, Clara. If the day comes when you must choose between keeping peace and keeping yourself, choose yourself. Peace will follow. I pressed the letter to my chest. He had known. Somehow, he had known. That evening, Michael returned with a small duffel bag. His voice was hollow. I dropped her things at the station. I don't know where to go from here. You go forward, I said gently. Not by fixing her, by fixing yourself. He dropped into a chair, face in his hands. I ruined everything. No, I said, sitting across from him. She did. But you helped her? You handed her the cracks she needed. That's what you have to live with. He nodded, tears spilling. How do I make it right with you? I didn't answer. Not yet. On New Year's Eve, I hosted my own dinner. Just me. Mrs. Turner from across the street, and Angela from church. No gold ornaments, no staged photos, just stew simmering on the stove, cornbread on the table, and laughter that wasn't forced. Angela raised her glass. To Clara. Who proved you can't erase a woman who knows her worth, Mrs. Turner added, sharp as always, and to revenge best served in daylight. We clinked glasses. For the first time in years, I tasted freedom in the food. Later, after they left, the house fell into hush again. That's when Michael appeared at the door, hesitant as a boy. Mom, he said softly, can I come in? I studied him for a long moment. Long. Then I opened the door. He stepped inside, eyes flicking to the tree still standing in the corner, gold ornaments gleaming like ghosts. I want to help you take it down, he said. Start fresh for the new year. I handed him an ornament. He took it gently, like it was glass and forgiveness at once. We worked in silence, unhooking ornaments, folding garlands, unwinding a Christmas that had nearly destroyed us. Each piece we packed away felt like closing a wound. When midnight struck, fireworks lit the Atlanta sky. We stood at the window together, faces brightened by bursts of red and gold. I whispered, more to myself than to him. Justice came, but forgiveness, that's another choice. Michael turned, eyes pleading. And what will you choose? Mom, I didn't answer. I let the question hang in the air, glowing with the fireworks, because in the end, revenge had freed me. But forgiveness, that was the twist left for tomorrow. If you were Clara, would you forgive Michael? Or would you let him face the distance his choices created? Tell us in the comments.
Did you enjoy my story? What a journey it has been. I truly wonder, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have chosen silence to keep the peace? Or would you have done what I did to reclaim your dignity? Let's meet in the comments below. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. I'm reading every single one. Which city are you listening from tonight? If my story resonated with you, you can support me and help me bring more stories like this to the world by sending a super thanks. Your sweet support means the world to me and allows me to continue this journey with all of you. On the screen now, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend you watch next. There are so many more on my channel, each with its own lessons and triumphs. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a new chapter. Thank you for being here with me. Until the next story, with love and respect.